When Indy and Marion say goodbye in Dial of Destiny, Karen Allen says, "It feels complete to me." Additionally, how their working relationship has evolved over time. "Honey, it's not the years. The mealage counts." That may have been the case when Marion Ravenwood was spoken to by Marion Ravenwood as Marion Ravenwood to Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark, but the sentiment is even more relevant in light of the franchise's fifth and final movie, Dial of Destiny, which is currently in theaters. What a journey it has been. They were formerly ex-lovers who found each other again while looking for the Ark of the Covenant in the 1981 film Raiders. The trio travels to the titular kingdom in the 2008 film Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, in which it is revealed that Marion had secretly given birth to Indy's kid, played by Shia LaBeouf, years earlier. After their journey is over, Indy and Marion are married. Indy and Marion's separation and impending divorce are both revealed right away in Dial of Destiny. We learn that their son enlisted against their wishes and perished in the Vietnam War, and that the tragedy that followed destroyed their marriage. As a result, Marion isn't actually seen until the very end of the movie, when she returns to assist the brave archaeologist in recovering from his grave wounds. The two tenderly recreate the "Where does it hurt" scene from Raiders, but this time, our hero asks his longtime love where he's wounded her. It's one of the most heartwarming moments in the franchise. Even though Alan can't say there wasn't initial disappointment in the sense that I wasn't more a part of the adventure of this story, she tells EW there was simultaneously a sense of gratitude that Marion was going to come back into the story. She goes on to say she's such a vibrant, wonderful character, and it would have broken my heart to see her just vanish into the ether. The actress discusses a variety of subjects in this interview, including the emotional farewells that were filmed for the movie, the development of her working relationship with Ford, and the future of Indy and Marion. Read EW's cover article for more information on Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and Harrison Ford's final performance as the feisty archaeologist. By KARENALLLIN, being a part of this important, fantastic series of films has been amazing. When I was first starting out in films, I believe it was my fourth film. I was cast in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I didn't really know what to expect from it. Although I was aware that Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, two amazing individuals, were involved in the movie, you never really know what you're getting into. And merely in terms of its scope and going to locations like Tunisia and being in the Sahara Desert, it was unquestionably a different film than anything I had ever shot before. Making the movie was an experience in and of itself, and it is unquestionably a fantastic adventure movie. Then I consider Marion Ravenwood, which actor wouldn't want to portray such role? She is wonderful. She starts drinking 400-pound men beneath the table as soon as we first meet her and kicks an ex-boyfriend in the chin. She immediately earns the affection of everyone who has ever been dumped. Marion will have made appearances in 3 of the 5 Indiana Jones films after Dial of Destiny. How has the process of working with Harrison changed over time? It has changed in the most lovely way. We didn't know one another at all while we worked on Raiders of the Lost Ark. We had just recently begun to study. We had very different approaches to acting, in my opinion, because I came from a theater background and was accustomed to practicing and discussing situations with other actors. He came from a totally different background, preferred working more independently, arrived on set prepared to work, and occasionally had little interest in running lines or performing other things of the sort. Since this was something new to me, I had to really get on top of my skis. We had a great working relationship. I just needed to make a change to feel confident working alone. Because I had never worked on a film like this one, I also gained a lot from him. It required new abilities from me as an actor working with a camera that I had never encountered before. I therefore got to see him use the camera. In the movies I had made up until that point, I had generally tried to ignore the camera, but in a movie like this, you're often collaborating with the camera. You need to be able to deal with it and know where it is. I was learning such abilities on the fly. Even just watching Harrison taught me a lot. It was new to me that you occasionally work in a way that is much more methodical and realistic. Then in the sequel Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it was as if these characters had been reunited with an old friend. Just a fantastic, simple, effortless experience. This time, Dial of Destiny kept things brief and sweet. It's really succinct. However, it was nice to enter at the conclusion and witness the reunion and reconciliation of these characters. When did you learn of Marion's return, and how did you hear about it? Well, there was a lot of moving and altering because, according to the script I never read, I believe it was quite a different tale and storyline when Steven Spielberg was going to direct it. The majority of the time, I was simply anticipating the moment when I would be reading a script and understanding how Marion would fit into the narrative. I had no idea if I would be in the movie until James Mangold took over as director and abruptly brought in new writers, the Butterworth brothers, Jez and John Henry. It was a new beginning. They had planned this role for Marion to return at the conclusion of the movie when they thought their script was finally ready, and I believe that's when it occurred to them. I can't deny that my first disappointment stemmed from the fact that I didn't feel like I had a bigger role in this story's adventure. However, there was also a feeling of relief that Marion would return to the narrative and, if this were the final installment in the series, that her character's tale would end on such a positive one. Since she is such a great, colorful character, it would have been heartbreaking to see her simply go into thin air. So it's safe to assume that you would have done that if they had requested you to return to the action like Marion did in Raiders and Crystal Skull? Absolutely, I say. I was game for anything. Yet they wanted to reintroduce her to the narrative. I gave it my all. It has been a while since Marion and Indy had interacted, so it comes as a bit of a surprise to both of them in that final moment. Did Harrison and you try to avoid each other when you were shooting it in order to maintain the element of surprise? No, I arrived 2 weeks in advance even though we only shot for 1 or 2 days. They wanted me to attend since we had discussed the possibility of using a wig to simulate my gray hair, and they needed time to plan the costume and other details. I frequently went over to the set when they were filming, which was pleasant since I got to see some familiar faces and get a sense of what was going on. And I had my first encounter with James Mangold. Although we had spoken on the phone, we had never actually met, so it was wonderful. Except for this movie, every previous installment in the series was directed by Steven Spielberg. Being there without him, was it strange? Yes, I believe it was. And I had even hoped he might be there so we could simply say hello. He wasn't, though. James, though, appeared to be completely at home in that setting. I spoke with Steven when it was revealed that James would take over as director when Steven stepped down, and he told me, "Oh my God, you're going to love working with him. Simply wait. He's fantastic." He was, too. Working with him was truly enjoyable. Was it difficult for you to film those closing scenes between Marion and Indy, since they ultimately serve as a farewell to these two characters? Performing it was undoubtedly emotional. I once saw it at a screening in New York, and I must admit that when I watch a movie for the first time, I don't really see what's on the screen. My memories of performing it are more vivid now. I therefore never even trust my responses or reactions until I had at least viewed things more than once. Yet it's really sweet, and it was well written, bringing back a brief motif from Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was just pleasant. These two are truly the love of each other's lives. As I have always said, I'm not sure if Harrison feels the same way, but I have a hunch he does. I grew to really realize that the narrative they were trying to make was that despite this wedge being pushed between them, they had managed to reconcile. When we eventually wrapped up filming, the crew was all overcome with emotion, in the sense that we felt like we were putting a period or exclamation point at the end of their journey, which was great. Harrison and I both experienced strong emotions. Do you think you've finished saying goodbye to Marion? Not at all. Maybe I've already bid Marion farewell in terms of the theater. For me, Marion is one of those characters that I believe will always be there in my life. Marion is undoubtedly one of those films for me. I believe that most performers have 1 or 2 films that they really identify with. I believe that this persona is so compelling that when I'm out and about just going about my daily business, it has such a strong emotional resonance for others that I am continuously being associated with this character in a delightful way that is undoubtedly not harmful. What direction do you see Indy and Marion taking next? Did they have any discussions regarding their future plans beyond what is depicted in the movie? Yes. There is a sense that they have reconciled and will be together for the rest of their life, according to the talk I had with producer Kathleen Kennedy, as well as to some extent with James Mangold and Harrison, if they are able to reconcile after getting through the grief of losing their son. He's retired now. We don't know much about Marion's life in the interval, but the movie has expertly knitted their lives back together. And when it's over, it feels finished to me. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more breaking news updates like this one.